On July the 1st, Beijing held its so-called party anniversary concert and all kinds of high-level events. Li Qiang presiding, Xi giving the speech, the whole Politburo Standing Committee present, but the retired elders all absent.
The man at Hu Jintao's side for nearly 40 years, his top secretary Chen Shizhu, made a very rare appearance at the July 1st concert.
This time he sat in the section for retired senior cadres.
Xi's grip on the Hu Jintao line has loosened and a signal is being sent to the whole party. On the sensitive eve of the 21st Congress, at this moment, it has surfaced.
If Xi wants to secure another term and keep going like this, he'll have to walk Kim Il-sung's road.
Inside the party, a life and death struggle is underway. I hope the day of a China without the Communist Party comes soon.
Wang Gang appearing as Air Force commander among the military leadership, showing up at the same concert as Chen Shizhu, put those two together and they may point to the same thread.
Hello everyone, welcome to PinnacleView, I'm Shi Shan. On July 1st, Beijing held its so-called party anniversary concert and all sorts of high-level events. A crowd of top officials turned out in ranks, with Xi Jinping, of course, the star everyone circled, yet not a single one of the CCP elders showed up. And Xi delivered a speech that pumped up his own standing in the pecking order, laying bare the reality that reform in China is dead. But does that prove Xi already holds absolute power? And yet, among the officials who did attend these top-level events, there are quite a few signs the outside world is reading very differently. On another front, July 1st is also the day the CCP formally put its so-called law on promoting ethnic unity and progress into effect, meaning it's extending its harsh model of repression beyond its borders. So should we be worried? Today's guests all have reason to worry. Today's guests are senior media figure Ms. Guo and independent producer Mr. Li Jun. All right, before we officially get into today's program, I still want to talk a bit about our black ginseng. Now, black ginseng is regarded as a fairly precious health tonic ingredient. Recently, Puritang has gotten quite a bit of feedback from customers. There's one Chinese friend living in the US who learned his elderly mother was in poor health, so he rushed back to China to be with her. Every day he had her drink 2 packets of Puritang's traditional black ginseng, made the old way, steamed and sun-dried 9 times, and her spirits, her energy, her daily activity all improved noticeably. And not only could she get out and about normally, she could go for walks regularly and even do a bit of exercise. Her family saw her recover so well, of course they were overjoyed. There's another friend who went through colon cancer surgery, and afterward, as everyone knows, after an operation the body is extremely weak. He said even after a shower he'd be shivering with cold. But after taking Puritang's black ginseng consistently, his sensitivity to cold improved dramatically, and his appetite and whole state of mind got much better than before. A lot of friends who saw him said, "Hey, you seem different somehow." His complexion had turned rosy, nothing like someone just recovering from a serious illness. Feedback like this is actually very common. When your body's vital energy is drained, a deep tune-up with truly top-grade black ginseng makes your whole state of mind completely different. So right now, when you buy Puritang Black Ginseng products, at checkout enter PinnacleView's exclusive promo code JYLT, the first letters of Jing Ying Lun Tan in Pinyin, and you'll get free worldwide shipping. And there's also a gift with a minimum purchase. Spend $500 and you get 1 whole black ginseng root free. Spend $3,000 and we'll add a premium whole root on top. Is this one 100 years old? I don't think it's 100, maybe 10 years, because ordinary black ginseng is usually made from 6-year-old roots. This premium whole root is probably 10, maybe 20 years. We're not handing out 1,000-year-old ginseng, of course. So for anyone who needs it, please take advantage of this exclusive offer. Ginseng is the kind of thing where the longer it ages, the better it works.
And the molecular refining too.
Right.
Steamed 9 times over.
Right, the way this black ginseng is processed is again a bit different from everyone else's, so here we especially want to recommend it to all of you. And thank you everyone for the support you've always given us. All right, Li Jun, let's get back from the ginseng and turn to Beijing. On July 1st, at the Communist Party's so-called anniversary celebrations at those staged events, not a single one of the party elders showed up. Some say that's abnormal, some say it's normal. Do you think it's normal or not?
It's both normal and not normal. Why do I say that? Let me start with the abnormal part. Because back in the Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao eras, at the big party anniversaries, every 5th and 10th year, the elders really did attend. That was the norm. By 2011, take the 90th anniversary in the Great Hall of the People, Li Ping, Zhu Rongji, Li Ruihuan, Wei Jianxing, Zheng Qinghong, a whole batch of retired former leaders, they were all there.
That was the 10-year anniversary.
Right? Only Jiang Zemin was absent then. People said his health was failing. He was 84, probably couldn't get around anymore. But the elders appeared as a group, and what did that signal? Party unity, that kind of multi-generational continuity. And in the Hu Jintao era, it was similar, the 85th, the 90th. For gatherings like these, retired standing committee level figures were basically always invited. It was part of the political ritual. Then in the Xi Jinping era, things changed fundamentally. By 2016, the 95th anniversary, the planning group had originally scheduled the elders to attend the June 29th evening concert and the July 1st assembly. Arrangements had been made. But after Xi heard the briefing, he vetoed it outright, a one-vote veto. The General Office then notified every department, no invitations across the board. So at both events, all 7 sitting standing committee members came, but the retired elders were absent as a group. This wasn't some individual health issue, it systematically broke with historical precedent. So why break it? At the core, it's really a change in the logic of power. After Xi came to power, he understood clearly the old guard, the Jiang faction, the Youth League faction, all their influence, he didn't want, at anniversary events he controlled, to let former elders occupy the cameras and stage that multi-generational tableau. That step was taken quite ruthlessly. But by 2021, the 100th anniversary, there was a reversal. Because at that big rally on Tiananmen Square, Xi gave his speech in a Mao suit, and Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, Li Ruihuan, Jia Qinglin, Zhang Dejiang, Yu Zhengsheng, Zheng Qinghong, a whole batch of elders, all went up onto the Tiananmen rostrum, sharing the frame with the sitting standing committee. Only Jiang Zemin and Zhu Rongji didn't come, right? At the time, everyone wondered, why did Xi suddenly need the elders on stage again? Because at that point, honestly, it was the 100th anniversary, closing in on 2021, and everyone knew the 20th Congress was coming up, right? He needed these elders as a group to back him, so this time he changed again, he let them up on stage. It was a rare moment of the old leaders appearing together. But by 2026, the 105th anniversary, this assembly changed yet again, right? Look, Li Qiang presiding, Xi giving the speech, all the sitting standing committee present, but the retired elders absent as a group. Including that June 29th concert, not a single important elder comrade appeared. And that's exactly like the 95th anniversary in 2016. It's the new normal of the Xi era. It's the sitting leadership taking charge. No need for the old guard as a backdrop anymore. You've been used up. We don't need you, right? But there's one detail worth noting. At that June 29th evening concert, Hu Jintao's top secretary, Chen Shiju, made a rare appearance. He was seated in the second row. He followed Hu Jintao for decades, a core trusted figure in Hu's circle. After retiring, he kept a very low profile, and now he suddenly turns up at an anniversary event. Observers are asking, is this sending a signal that says, I'm still here?
This time, everyone's paying a lot of attention to Xi's speech, and there are many interpretations, for instance, this idea of 4 stages and so on. Do you think that 4-stage framing is worth, yeah, that really is what he means, isn't it?
Yes. The most distinctive thing about Xi's speech this time is that he clearly divided the party's 105-year history into 4 stages. And he basically put himself on the same historical plane as Mao Zedong. Because in the speech he said the Chinese communists, represented chiefly by Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao, established monumental achievements for the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Now that line itself isn't new, but placed at the 105th anniversary in 2026, it carries a different weight. In the 95th and 100th anniversary speeches, Jiang Zemin was in that sequence too. But this time Xi also put Jiang into the list of the deeply mourned revolutionary elders, alongside Mao and Deng, which further cements Jiang's place in history. At the same time, he arranged the whole history into 4 clear stages: Mao's founding stage, Deng's reform and opening up, then Jiang and Hu carrying that reform forward, and finally the so-called new era he himself leads, right? But the more crucial thing is how he positioned the reform and opening up era. In the speech, after reviewing 105 years of achievements, he immediately stressed, these 105 years of achievements are great, but we must never grow proud or complacent, never stop moving forward. meaning he still wants to start something new, and he pinned the goal directly on building a great modern socialist country in full by the middle of this century. What he's really saying is that the reform era has completed its historical mission. Now we're entering a new stage. And how do we go forward from here? Who decides? His words already make it perfectly clear, right? So notice the 5 musts he laid out. Never forget the original mission, stay modest and prudent, work hard, dare to struggle, and rely on what? Rely on the people. These demands sound like old slogans, but set against the end of the reform era, they turn into a new set of rules. Deng's old approach, crossing the river by feeling the stones, letting some people get rich first, is no longer the dominant narrative. What's stressed now is centralized, unified leadership, daring to struggle, long-term rule, capacity building, all things he's hammered on since taking office. But in this anniversary speech, it was more systematic, pulled together more fully.
So, as we said, Li Jun just now covered the overall picture. I'd like to ask Ms. Guo, the secretary of Hu Jintao's coming out is highly unusual. A lot of people noticed because news of Hu Jintao has been gone for over 3 years, right? After he was escorted out at the 20th Congress, he never appeared again, right? On the eve of the 21st Congress, at this sensitive moment, his close personal secretary of many, many years suddenly resurfaces. What does that mean?
Honestly, a scene like this really is the first in over 3 years.
Right.
The man at Hu Jintao's side for nearly 40 years, his top secretary Chen Shiju, this time made a very rare appearance at that July 1st concert venue. You have to understand, Hu Jintao is a fairly low-key person. Since stepping down, he's not someone who likes crowds. Often he won't attend, even when he's expected to. So, yes, a very low-key man. Hu Jintao himself last appeared in public back in 2022 at the closing ceremony of the 20th Congress, the one the whole world saw, where staff walked him straight out of the hall. After that, he never appeared publicly again. He's essentially under house arrest, kept under tight surveillance. These past few years, the moment anyone outside mentioned Hu Jintao's name, it was basically as if the man didn't exist. State media wouldn't touch it, and even his whole secretarial staff vanished along with him. As for Chen Shiju, in early 2023, his name was quietly taken off the CPPCC member list, as if he'd evaporated into thin air. So think about it, a loyal old retainer who followed Hu Jintao for 40 years suddenly reappears, seated at a public event in a very conspicuous spot. There's no way he just decided on his own to show up. There has to be an arrangement behind this. Exactly. And there's internal word going around that during Xi's stroke, around the 3rd plenum of the 20th Central Committee, Hu Jintao actually backed CMC Vice Chairman Zhang Yuxia in seizing back military power. And right now, Hu Jintao is endorsing and propping up that newly created decision-making and ideology coordination body. In fact, he supports having Wen Jiabao run it. Hu Jintao is the only living former party chief the CCP has left, and within the party's political ethics, that status carries more weight than anyone currently in office, especially at critical moments, at moments of crisis. He's the one who makes the final call.
Right, he could well be the one who makes the final call.
If Xi really held absolute power and had the whole situation fully under control, no information about Hu Jintao could possibly leak out at all. Over these past 3 years, Xi's approach to Hu Jintao was all-around surveillance and a total blackout. Anything Hu said, the outside world simply couldn't hear. Now Chen Shiju suddenly appears in public, and that tells you Xi's grip on the Hu Jintao line has loosened. You could even say Hu was allowed to be seen, and that some signal is being sent to the whole party.
Right.
So at this concert, the image of Xi being fawned over by a crowd of top officials looking boundlessly triumphant, that forms a very subtle contrast. On the surface, Xi stands supreme, yet the Hu Jintao line has surfaced right here on the sensitive eve of the 21st Congress.
Right, and we looked carefully at where Chen Shiju was seated. That detail is actually key. This time he sat in the area for retired senior cadres. Because, as you may know, the 2 most important secretaries at Hu Jintao's side, one was Ling Jihua, who went to prison years ago. He was director of the General Office. And the other is Chen Shiju. Chen Shiju's time with Hu Jintao was even longer than Ling Jihua's, probably the longest any secretary has ever served as CCP party chief. He's also the subordinate who stayed by Hu Jintao's side the longest of all. Chen Shiju basically did just one thing his whole life, serve as Hu Jintao's secretary. He graduated from Guizhou University in '85, then joined the Guizhou Provincial Party Committee Office. At that time, Hu Jintao had gone to Guizhou, and Chen started serving the Guizhou Provincial Party Secretary, that is, serving Hu Jintao as his secretary. From then on continuously, how many years does that add up to? Nearly 40 years, 40-some years. As Hu Jintao served as Guizhou Party Secretary, then Tibet Party Secretary, all the way up to the Politburo Standing Committee, and then General Secretary and State President. Chen Xiaoju stayed by his side the whole time, and in the end became director of the General Office and head of both the General Secretary's office and the State President's office. Really, he and Ling Jihua were like Hu's left and right arms. The key thing is Chen was the one Hu trusted most, the others he didn't necessarily trust. So after Hu Jintao stepped down, Chen Xiaoju served as a deputy director of the General Office for a while, but then he was assigned to what? Spiritual civilization, secrecy, fairly administrative, routine work. Naturally, he'd never touched the decision-making core. He was sidelined. Later, he was removed from the deputy director post at the General Office, left with just a seat as a CPPCC standing committee member. And by 2023, after the reshuffle following the 20th Congress, he wasn't even kept as a national CPPCC member. He was only 60.
He was born in 1960.
Think about it, he only graduated in 1985, so he's only 60. A full minister-level official at 60 shouldn't be retired off.
Right. Well,
isn't that so?
At least 65 before retiring.
Right. A full minister-level official normally serves until 65. So, in effect, he was pushed out right at 60, locked into a fixed slot, driven out, ordered into retirement, which amounts to being retired early, doesn't it? A backbench cadre, without a single position. Plainly put, over these years, Chen Xiaoju is a true and vivid reflection of what happened to Hu Jintao during Xi Jinping's rule. So Chen Xiaoju served for 40 years, and at this point we can basically see him as the only person left in the party who can truly be regarded as a stand-in for Hu Jintao. A representative figure, right? So when he comes out, why does everyone care so much? It's connected to all this, isn't it?
Right, yes, that's how it is.
We know there's one more thing. This July 1st, China's law on promoting ethnic unity and progress officially took effect. So that means people like us, say you're overseas criticizing the Communist Party or whatever it may be, you now fall within its jurisdiction. Ms. Guo, do you think this will have an impact on our overseas circle?
On July 1st, China officially put the law on promoting ethnic unity and progress into effect. This law was passed by the National People's Congress on March 12th this year. The full text has 7 chapters and 65 articles covering education, language, publishing, the internet, business operations, religion. It even writes in Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, and US overseas Chinese.
Right.
On the surface, its stated aim is to forge a shared consciousness of the Chinese nation, which sounds high-minded. But what really set the outside world off is Article 63, worded very plainly. Organizations and individuals outside the People's Republic of China who act against it to undermine ethnic unity and progress, or to create ethnic division, shall be pursued for legal responsibility under the law.
Oh.
See, everyone catch that line.
It's not just ethnic Chinese, foreigners too, right? Pursued as well.
Do you grasp the weight of that sentence?
This amounts to extending China's domestic law into every corner of the globe. But wouldn't that need the UN to sign off on it? How can it police things abroad anyway?
Right, as long as Beijing decides you've undermined ethnic unity, even if you're in America, in Japan, in Europe, the legal liability still comes for you. A Tokyo Assembly member named Momokawa recently wrote a piece in a Japanese business magazine titled Precedent and pointed out bluntly that this Article 63 is like Beijing issuing itself a legal permit to grab people across borders worldwide. He gave a very pointed example, a Japanese person who publicly criticizes China's ethnic minority policies, or even just voices support for Taiwan, could in theory be targeted under this law.
Right.
Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council deputy head Liang Wenjie also said Beijing is now using all sorts of methods to intimidate the allied nations and international friends who support Taiwan. And the UK think tank the China Strategic Risks Institute warned even earlier that Beijing is escalating so-called extraterritorial lawfare, legal warfare beyond its borders. The core concepts are long-arm jurisdiction, transnational repression, cross-border enforcement. This road has been travelled not for a day or two, but for quite some time now. So specifically, who does this law endanger most? The first group in the line of fire is overseas Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghurs, Tibetans and Mongol groups. At its core, this law squeezes the linguistic and cultural space of these ethnic minorities or any overseas rights group that dissents and doesn't accept its line, slapping the separatist label straight onto them. The second group is people overseas who support Taiwan or care about Taiwan issues, whether Taiwanese themselves or foreign officials, scholars, lawmakers. Anyone who publicly voices support for Taiwan could be roped in under this law. And the third group is us, those who've lived overseas long term.
Right, we care about this most, the third group.
The ones doing current affairs commentary.
Right.
The media people and commentators who criticise the CCP system, that includes our programme. Programs like this deal precisely with elite CCP infighting, power struggles, the legitimacy of the regime, topics and viewpoints it refuses to accept. So it's very easy to get slapped with creating ethnic division or undermining ethnic unity. Charges vague to the point of meaninglessness. So the most insidious thing about this law is that its wording is extraordinarily vague. What counts as undermining ethnic unity? The power to interpret rests entirely in Beijing's hands.
Exactly.
Beijing has basically written itself a blank check. With this blank check, I can arrest whoever I want, fill in whatever name I want, sanction whoever I want, and a legal basis can always be found on the spot.
But some friends also say the law doesn't state that criticizing the Communist Party breaks the law. So going forward, we just have to be careful making our program. We can't say China does this or that. We have to say the Communist Party. Don't say the Chinese government, say the CCP government, and you're not breaking the law. You separate the CCP from China, do it that way, and it's a little safer. And it seems we've only ever kept them separate, I think.
Right.
We always say that CCP this and that. Exactly. A lot of friends need to keep this point in mind, especially the CCP tells plenty of lies, of course, including the July 1st founding day. I know that's actually inaccurate. The party wasn't founded on July 1st at all, right? Li Jun, I remember it was sometime around the 23rd of July, right?
The CCP has always treated July 1st as the party's birthday, but that date was actually settled later. It isn't even July, really. It isn't the day the party was founded. The truth is, it wasn't even founded in 21. Plainly put, back in 1920, the Soviet Communist Party, through the Comintern, sent Voitinsky and others to China to help set it up. Back then, they were called communist cells, and they pushed to organize in Shanghai, Beijing, and Guangzhou, forming the earliest communist groups. That's the real origin of the CCP. Strictly speaking, from the very start, the CCP was a branch of the Soviet Communist Far Eastern Bureau, put bluntly, a Soviet party branch with its funding paid for by them. That's how it was built. But by 1921, even the first Congress they held, the CCP's first Congress, wasn't convened on July 1st either. It was around July 23rd, held in secret at a house on Wangji Road in Shanghai. Then, because French concession police came searching, the meeting had to break off, and it was finally finished on a pleasure boat on South Lake in Jiaxing, Zhejiang. The whole process took under 10 days, start to finish. So this July 1st party birthday isn't the party's birthday at all. What was it then? Come 1941 in Yan'an, they decided the party needed a birthday, but which day to pick? They couldn't find one, gave up, and just set it as July 1st. So to put it accurately, this July 1st birthday is a fake too, not the day it was born, right?
Really, it's an organization out to undermine our Chinese ethnic unity and progress, isn't it?
Look further on, about 10 years later, they set up the so-called Chinese Soviet Republic. Founded in 1931 in Ruijin, Jiangxi, this was actually a completely independent regime inside China's borders. It had its own constitution, a Soviet government, a Red Army, and an independent foreign policy. And the slogan at the time was crystal clear. What was it? Defend the Soviet Union by force of arms. They explicitly put defending the Soviet Union first?
No, they simply didn't regard themselves as Chinese at all.
Right.
Let me tell you why. Because their flag was the Soviet flag. To this day, the CCP's party flag is still the Soviet national flag.
Right.
Even now, it's still the old Soviet flag. And their currency, the money in those base areas, the banknotes, had Lenin printed on them, Lenin's portrait. So when they went to defend the Soviet Union by arms, of course, they were defending the Soviet Union. That was their country. In other words, the Soviets, through a group of Chinese, built a Chinese Soviet Union inside China.
Right.
And that's the Soviet regime.
Exactly. To put it precisely, the CCP's origin was actually driven directly by a foreign political party overseas, the Soviet Communists, through the Comintern. Its early tasks and resources all came from the Soviet Union, and its policies often served Soviet geopolitical interests. The CCP constantly talks about opposing hostile foreign forces, but from its historical roots, the CCP itself is a party propped up by hostile foreign forces.
It's the one that's anti-China.
It's the hostile foreign force itself.
Right.
Right. And for a very long stretch, it put defending another country's regime first. That's the real truth of history, isn't it?
Right. Now, there's a view people keep raising that China today isn't really China anymore, that our Chinese civilization, this whole civilization of ours, has actually been severed, has already died. Why? It's quite simple. A civilization isn't a regime, and it isn't some surface concept either. It has a great deal of content to it, right?
It's already been wiped out by the Communist Party.
Right.
A lot of people, when they talk about China, instinctively think of this land, this regime, 1.4 billion people. But that understanding is actually wrong, or at least incomplete.
Right.
China was never merely a geographical concept, nor a byword for any one dynasty or regime. At its essence, it's a mode of civilization, the way the Chinese, over thousands of years, worked out how people live with nature and how people live with one another. The so-called heaven, earth, sovereign, kin, teacher, loyalty, filial duty, benevolence, righteousness, ritual, wisdom, faith. These aren't just slogans. They're a complete set of behavioural norms that permeate daily life and the very logic by which society runs.
Right?
It's by this that the Chinese knew how to make a life for themselves, how to hold a family together, how social order actually functions.
Right.
And what did the CCP do after taking power? It knocked down Confucianism, Buddhism and Taoism wholesale, smashed the statues of Confucius outright.
Right.
The CCP's own phrasing was blunt: stamp a foot on the house of Confucius and sweep it into the dustbin of history. This wasn't a simple political movement. It tore up by the roots the entire value system and web of relationships that had sustained the Chinese for thousands of years.
Exactly.
You take that away and what's left is just that patch, on that patch of land. Can the people on it who speak Chinese still be called China? I say they can't. Today's China is no longer Chinese civilization, it's a regime wearing China's skin.
An alien regime.
Yes, the Chinese Communist Party's destruction of Chinese civilization went far more thoroughly than the Mongol conquest of the Central Plains or the Manchu entry through the passes in history. The Mongols, the Manchus, what they conquered was the regime, what they ruled was the land, but at their core they were in the end assimilated by Chinese civilization. That Confucian tradition, emperors and ministers still read the 4 books and 5 classics, still held the imperial exams, still made offerings to Confucius, right? But the CCP was different. At its core, it set out to wipe these things out. The civilization itself is what it wants to destroy. And what it uses is Marxism, using that philosophy of struggle to thoroughly replace the whole ethic of loyalty and righteousness.
To replace that core of Chinese civilization.
The core, yes. And that's the greatest tragedy for the Chinese people. You think you're still living in China, but you're living in an empty shell, left after a civilization was pulled up by the roots.
That really is how it is. So, Xi's proposed division of history into stages. The real point, of course, isn't to review history. We can see that all of CCP history is really the history of wiping out Chinese civilization. That's just what it is. From 1921, from even before that all the way to now, their chief goal, the Communist Party's most fundamental original mission, has been to wipe out Chinese culture, to wipe out Chinese civilization. And this is stated outright, right there in the Communist Manifesto. We communists disdain to conceal our views. We will use force, note that force, to destroy the existing social order and all its values. Its ideals. Basically, its values. That's basically what it says. So go look it up, everyone. They really did say exactly that. The 21st Congress power struggle isn't something still quietly brewing behind the scenes. It's already surfaced into the open, and the entire regime is now pouring all its resources mainly into infighting, surveillance, and every means of shoring up one man's authority. I'd say that's probably the greatest danger facing the CCP system right now, and a sign that its legitimacy is coming apart. I hope the day of a China without the Communist Party comes soon. I believe this is truly what's in all our hearts. All right, today, many thanks to our 2 guests, and thank you all for watching. See you next time.